Moving on ahead to our today's session. So in today's class, the basic agenda over here is I would like to give a brief introduction to testing, why we are going for testing, and then what are all the various types we have, and then what is an automation testing, and then various tools, and moving on to Selenium and its advantages. So these are all the various kinds of concepts which we need to discuss in our today's class. So let's start with testing. Okay. So before moving ahead directly into the definition of a testing, let me give you a small example. Here are two different persons. Myself is Surendra and I used to develop websites. As per the customer needs, I usually develop the various kinds of websites for customer. And someone is a person who wants to build his own training portal like sumantrainings.com. So he want to build a portal like this. So he purchased a domain, but he thought to build this particular website. So yeah, Ryan, I'm just recording this session. So after completion of the class, I will share you this recording as well. Okay. So fine. So Sumani is looking for a person who needs to develop his website. Roughly, uh, based on his research, he noticed that it needs around $500 for him, and roughly it needs around 5 months of time required for them to develop a particular website. And based on his research, Suman identified as Surendra that he is a person who is going to develop all the websites within 10 days and the fee would be $100. So he approached Surendra and he shared all his requirement to Surendra. So what he did right now means Surendra and his team worked on Suman's requirements, and by end of the 8th day itself, okay, by end of the 8th day itself, they have finished the application and they delivered that application to Suman. Okay, they finished their application and they delivered this application to Suman. So what Suman thought means, as there's a people delivered the application on time, he thought that he thought that they have developed the application properly without any issues. Okay, they have developed the application properly without any issues. He thought in such a way. So what he did, he immediately started marketing, and he posted his training related ads on abc.com, xyz.com. As per the basic marketing plan, whatever someone is doing per day, at least he needs to get around 5 inquiries. Okay, per day he need to get 5 new inquiries in a day. But unfortunately, 3 days were passed, but he didn't get even a single inquiry. So he thought to check his website first. Whenever he navigated to his website, he noticed that application homepage itself is not displaying. Okay, application homepage itself is not displaying. So what he did right now, immediately he approached Surendra and he raised his issue. So this time Surendra took around 30 days time to fix this issue. 30 days time to fix this issue, and he delivered that app. And Suman, whenever he is working on the app, again he noticed the issue. Repetitively, Suman is identifying n number of issues in the application and he is approaching Surendra to fix those issues. Altogether, 1 year was passed. Still, Suman is having issues in his website, whatever which was developed by Surendra. So, in future, assume that Ramesh, one of his friends, Suman's friends, want to develop the similar kind of a website. So, whether Suman will refer Surendra to his friends or he won't. See, Surendra collected money from him and he has delivered a quality less product to the customer. Okay, Surendra has delivered a quality less product to the customer. Okay, because of which in future for sure Suman won't give reference to him. Right, slowly he is losing his business. Instead of doing that, if he has delivered a quality application to Suman so that he will get goodwill and more business from him too. Right, guys? Am I clear for everybody so far? Suman and Sudipta, am I clear for you both so far? So, with this example, what exactly a delivering of an application to a customer right now? So, where exactly testing comes into picture? Once after application was developed and before delivering this application to the customer, okay, whatever the application which was developed before delivering that application to the customer, tester will play a major role. He will check entire application and he will try to identify defects in the application. If a tester identified the defects in an application, the ultimate objective of a tester is to identify defects in an application. If we would have identify all the defects in an application, simply we can deliver a defect-free application to the customer. So that's the reason a test user, a tester will test the application like an end user and he will try to identify all the issues in the application. Okay, so here we go. So am I clear for you so far, Suman and Sudipta, or do you have any specific questions for me?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You can go ahead.
Okay, fine. So done. So this is
Yeah.
the stuff. So here, so there comes the testing is. So once after we develop the application and before delivering that particular application to the customer, the testing phase comes into a picture where a tester is a person who will play a major role. He will verify or he will validate the application like an end user whether all the aspects in the application were working properly or not. He will decide that. Okay, ultimately a tester is a person who is gonna decide the quality of a particular application. Tester is a person who is going to decide the quality of an application. Okay, the tester is a person who is going to decide the quality of a particular application. That's fine. So this is about a testing and why we are going for testing. And the various types of testing which we have are generally, see, this is the testing. It was divided into two different types. See here, testing, functional testing and non-functional testing. So what exactly a functional testing is, what exactly a non-functional testing is. Okay, what exactly a functional testing is and what exactly a non-functional testing means. Let me give you a small example for this thing, a functional and as well as a non-functional testing. So assume that this is your application web page. Okay, assume that this is your application web page and this is a page 1 where we have a username field, password field and a login button, and the text on that particular field is username, passwords, login. So this is a page 1, and again we do have another web page. Okay, so we do have another web page and I'm naming this page as a page 2 and it is a username field, this is a password field and this is a login button, and the text on this one is a username, passwords and a login. If you clearly observe the page 1 and a page 2, for a better user interface, for better look and feel, page 2 is looking more appropriate than page 1. So generally in a non-functional type of a testing, we usually concentrate on user interface of an application. How exactly the application user interface got aligned, we usually cross check it over here. And the next type of a testing over here applicable under the non-functional testing is a performance. What exactly a performance testing means? The best example is, assume that we are having a Scorpio car and this car will move with 100 kilometers per hour speed whenever there are just 10 persons on that car. For suppose if the load got increased to 25%, for sure the speed will reduce to 75 kilometers per hour. Okay, for suppose if there are around 80 people are there, okay, 80 people are there in that particular car, hence the car will move with just 10 kilometers per hour only. Okay, the car will move with just 10 kilometers per hour only. See, the speed of that particular car is getting reduced. Okay, the speed of that particular car is getting reduced whenever the load is keep on increasing. Okay, whenever the load on that particular car is keep on increasing, the speed of that particular car is getting reduced. Another best example in terms of a software applications, generally whenever we are working on any kind of ICICI internet banking, okay, ICICI internet banking, when we try to access the application roughly from 30th to 2nd of every month, when I try to open the application, sometimes it will throw an error message. It will throw an error message stating that page not found or loading errors and all those things. Such kind of an error message it will display while loading. The reason is max number of employees were trying to access this application. Hence, My application is not in a position to support those many users, where in such cases it will throw such kind of an error messages. So moving on to the performance testing, where exactly we are going to verify the application behavior under the various loads. And the next one is security testing. Okay, security testing. What does it mean? For suppose I am working on any kind of a banking application. Whenever we are working on any kind of a banking application, when we click on a back button, usually our session will expire, which is some kind of a security issue. When we try to refresh the page, the session will expire, even which is a security issue. So as per the application requirement, the various kinds of security aspects were implemented properly or not, which comes under the security testing, and it's a part of a non-functional testing. These are the various types of non-functional testings. Even we do have a few more types, but these are the examples which I have given for you. Moving on to a functional testing, the best example for this functional testing is verifying the application functionality. What does it mean? How we are going to verify the application functionality? The best example is a Gmail application, and that too a login page. On a Gmail application, we do have a login page. Whenever we entered a valid user ID and a valid password, when we click on login button, we will log in into the application. Right, we will log in into the application when we enter the credentials. This is how they have a designed application. When we entered invalid credentials and when we try to log in into the application, the error message should display. So this is the functionality designed for that particular application. Okay, this is the functionality they have a design for that particular application. So in order to test the application, we need to verify all these functional aspects of an application, which we can call it as a functional testing. Okay, which we can call it as a functional testing. That's fine. And moving on to a small example over here, once again, the task given to me is washing off a clothes. In order to perform this task, I have two different ways. The first one is I can wash by hand, and the second one is I can go for a machine. So whenever I am washing clothes by hand, it needs around 100% human efforts, and 3 hours of time is required for me. Whereas if at all I am performing the same task using a machine, just 5% of a human effort is required, and 30 minutes of time is required for me to finish this particular task. So in order to perform this task, we usually prefer the second option, as it is reducing our effort and saving our time. Right, Suman and Sudita, am I clear for you both so far? Or do you people have any questions for me? You can use the chat window to address your questions. Am I clear for you both so far? Fine. Then up to here. The first one, I can compare it with manual testing. The second one, I can compare it with automation testing. Okay. The first one, I can compare it with the manual testing, and the second one, I can compare it with automation testing. Okay. So that's fine. So what is the manual testing? Verifying the application. Just the example itself is a Gmail login page. The manual testing means we need to enter the UID, we need to enter the password, and we need to click on login button manually. We are performing all these actions manually, which we can call it as a manual testing. we are verifying the application functionality manually, which we can call it as a manual testing. Whereas moving on to an automation testing, a computer program will enter a value for username field. Okay, a computer program will be entering a value for a username field, entering a value for a password field, and entering a value for a or else clicking on a login button. Okay, clicking on a login button. So instead of we are performing this task, a computer program is performing this task, which we can call it as an automation testing. See, in the both the ways we are conducting testing on an application. So ultimately we are trying to identify the issues. Instead of we are performing this task, a computer program is performing all those tasks, which we can call it as an automation testing. Okay, which I can call it as an automation testing. That's fine. So the other point, what exactly I need to do over here is go back to this plain document. The functional testing is divided into two types. One is a manual and the other one is an automation testing. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Done up to here. So there's a manual and automation testing. We do have in both functional testing and as well as a non-functional testing also. This functional testing is having a both manual and automation testing, and non-functional testing is also having a both a manual and automation testing. Okay, both are having a manual and as well as an automation testings. That's fine. Nowadays, QTP, Selenium, Sahi Pro, Provar, these are all the various kinds of automation testing tools available in a market. And that too, they are functional automation testing tools. Coming to non-functional automation testing tools, Load Runner and JMeter. Okay, Load Runner and JMeter are non-functional automation testing tools. Okay, so they are non-functional automation testing tools. That's fine. So here, functional automation testing tool means a tool, okay, a tool which covers, okay, a tool which verifies the functionality of an application. Okay, a tool which verifies the functionality of an application, which we can call it as a functional automation testing tool. Nowadays, majority of the people are going for this Selenium tool alone. Why Selenium? Why not any other tools? Why Selenium? The first reason for this tool is it's an open source tool. So anyone can simply download this software for free of cost, and they can simply automate their applications. Usually a simple question will rise in our mind. Is this the only reason why people are going for? If it is an open source tool, why majority of the organizations are going for that tool? There are n number of open source tools available in a market. Then why Selenium alone? Why not Sahi or other tools? Why people are going for Selenium? I don't think this is the reason. Then what exactly the additional reasons are? So it supports record and a playback feature. What does it mean? The best example here is a mobile phones. Usually in our mobile phones, we used to have either audio or a video recorder applications, right? we used to have either audio or else a video recorder applications, wherein which, okay, so wherein which, what exactly we are doing with this audio or a video recorder, whenever we click on a record button, it will capture both audio and a video, and when we click on save button, that recording is going to store in mobile gallery, and whenever we want, we are just playing that particular video from a mobile gallery itself, right? That's fine. So the same way here, the record and a playback feature supports on a browser. Okay, the record and a playback feature supports on a browser. It means whatever the actions we are performing on a browser, okay, whatever the actions we are performing on a browser, for those actions, our tool will record the scripts and it will play back the script on a same browser itself. Record and a playback here it supports on a browser. And the third one is it supports multiple programming languages. What does it mean? If I know Java, I can write my Selenium codes. If I know Ruby, I can write my Selenium code. If I know .NET, Python, whatever the programming language might be, if at all we are familiarized with any one of the programming languages, we are gonna write down our Selenium program. That's the major advantage. Among all these programming languages, we are choosing Java alone. Okay, again immediately a simple question will rise in our mind. Why Java? Why not any other tool or else any other language? The reason is the first option for this one is Selenium itself was developed using Java programming language, and the second advantage is majority of the people are preferring Selenium with the Java. So in future, when we blocked at any point, for sure we will get better solutions for our issues. Okay, for sure we will get a better solutions for all our issues. Okay, that's fine. So these two are the major reasons of why we are going for Java programming language and why not any other programming languages. Okay, that's fine. And it supports multiple browsers. It means whatever the test script I have prepared, I can execute across various browsers, and even I can perform load testing also. Okay, even I can perform load testing also. So as it is an open source tool and it supports these many advantages, that's the reason majority of the people are going for this tool. Okay, so it's not comes with an open source tool itself. Even though it's an open source tool and it is supporting these many advantages, that's the reason majority of the people are going for this tool. So far we discussed about an advantages. What about the disadvantages for this tool? The first disadvantage is we can automate only a web-based application. Okay, we can automate only a web-based application. What does it mean? Whenever we are working on any applications, if at all some kind of a pop-ups will comes into a picture, those are window-based pop-ups. Okay, if some kind of a window-based pop-ups were coming into a picture, see here is a best example. Whenever you click on a choose your file, some kind of an information is getting displayed, which is a window pop-up over here. By default, using a WebDriver or else using Selenium, we can't handle these windows. Okay, we can't handle those windows. So we can automate purely web-based applications. And another limitation is an open source tool. Why I am treating open source tool as my limitation means, if we struck at a point means we won't get any support from Selenium team. Okay, so we won't get any support from Selenium team. Okay, so as it is an open source tool, we don't get any proper support from Selenium team. But how we are overcoming this one means, by looking into Google groups, there are a number of Google groups where in which we do have a number of solutions. So we are overcoming this limitation. Moving on to a web-based application, using Selenium, we can automate only a web-based application. See, assume that this is your application. Whenever we are working on your app, if you come across these kind of scenarios where in which some kind of a window pop-up got displayed. See, as of now, a window pop-up got displayed where in which I need to select a folder from my local machine. By default, using a Selenium, we can't handle this. Okay, by default, using Selenium, we can't handle this. Okay, this is a major limitation. The best example for this one is, assume that I have a 2 GB of a free space in my machine. Is it possible for me to store 10 GB of movies in my machine? So it's not at all possible for me to store that much of information in my machine. To overcome this limitation, we are connecting external hard disk, and we are trying to access the information from the external hard disk itself. The required information, I am storing it in an external hard disk, and in future whenever I want, I am connecting the external hard disk and I am accessing the information. The same way, by default, we can't handle any kind of a window-based scenarios. By adding a third-party tools to our Selenium, we are going to overcome this limitation also. The third-party tools are AutoIT or CKU, etc. We do have a couple of third-party tools with which we are gonna overcome the limitation of Selenium itself. So these are all the various disadvantages, and we have seen about how to overcome them. Am I clear for everybody, or do you people have any specific questions for me? Fine. Done up to here. And Selenium is having a various kinds of components like IDE, RC, and a WebDriver, and a Selenium grid. But as for the demo perspective, without knowing a manual testing concepts, if at all we are discussing about the Selenium components means, which would lead some kind of a confusing for us. So as for the demo perspective, let's stop up to here for Selenium tool. Okay, so altogether so far we discussed about what is a manual testing, or else what is a testing, why we are going for testing, and why we need to conduct testing on any kind of an applications, and the various types of testings we have, and what is a manual testing and what is an automation testing, why majority of the people are going for Selenium automation tool and its advantages and disadvantages. So these are all the various concepts of which we discussed so far. Am I clear for you so far, Suman and Sudita? Or do you people have any questions for me? Fine.